my children, and you shall hear of the midnight ride of Paul Revere. On the 18th of April in 75, hardly a man is now alive who remembers that famous day and year.
He said to his friend, if the British march by land or sea from the town tonight, hang the lanterns aloft the belfry arch of the North Church tower as a signal light. One if by land and two if by sea, And I on the opposite shore will be ready to ride and spread the alarm through every Middlesex village and farm, for the country folk to be
up into arms.
Meanwhile his friend through alley and street wanders and watches with eager ears, till in the silence around him he hears
the muster of men at the barrack door, and the measured tread of their grenadiers, marching down to shore.
Meanwhile impatient to mount and ride, booted and spurred with a heavy stride. On the opposite shore walked Paul Revere, but mostly he watched with eager search the belfry tower of Old North Church as it rose above the graves on the hill, lonely and spectral and somber and still.
And lo, he looks on the belfry's height, a glimmer and then a gleam of light. He springs to the saddle, a bridle he turns, then lingers and glazes till full of his sight a second lamp beautifully burns. A hurry moves in the village street, a shape in the moonlight, a bulk in the dark, and beneath from the pebbles is in passing a spark struck out by a steed flying fearless and fleet.
That was all, and yet through the gloom and the light, the fate of a nation was riding that night, and the spark struck out by that steed in his flight kindled the land into flame with its heat.
You know the rest in the books you have read, how the British regulars fired and fled, how the farmers gave them ball for ball from behind each fence and farmyard wall, chasing the redcoats down the lane.
So through the night rode Paul Revere, and through the night his cry of alarm to every Middlesex village and farm, a cry of defiance, not of fear, a voice in the darkness, a knock at the door. A word that should echo forevermore, for born on the night wind of the past, through our history to the last. In the hour of darkness and peril and need, the people will waken and listen to hear the hurrying hoofbeats and the steed
And the midnight ride of Paul Revere.